Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. The Australian heavyweight Lucas Browne is set to make his return to the ring this weekend, 6 months after getting brutally knocked out by Dillian Whyte in March. The 39-year-old will face Julius Long, who's 7'1" tall, based out of New Zealand, and he has a 90-inch reach. And while the 6'5" Browne has a significant height and reach disadvantage, he is the favourite heading into this fight with the 41-year-old, who sports a record of 18 wins and 20 losses, including, I might add, a knockout loss to Browne back in 2015. So this is a rematch. So Long, he's a serviceable comeback opponent to test where Browne is really at, and this is what he needs. He needs to get back in there and actually see where he's at. Obviously, back in March, he came in somewhat out of shape. He showed very little of note to suggest that he would be back at the top level of the heavyweight division. So he's going to test himself here. And it did emerge after that March fight that he hadn't really been training properly, despite outward efforts on social media to convince the public that he had been giving it his all. And his promoter Ricky Hatton also revealed after the fight that Browne had been on antidepressants heading into the fight. So it has been a long 6 months, a long road back. And Browne, he's recommitted himself to the sport. He's vowed to get in shape. He's been vowing to get back to the top level because he believes he does have something left in the tank. But this comeback, it hasn't been without incident. He had to scrap his original comeback date in late July because of a knee issue. He had to have surgery to repair a torn meniscus. Let's start with the training. Browne has posted numerous clips in recent months on social media. He's an avid user of social media, of him grinding away in the gym, doing all manner of general gym work and specific boxing training. And with the previously well-curated postings before that Dillian Whyte fight, I, like some others, are a little bit reluctant to get sucked in entirely again. But he has put up a recent post showing the change from 3 months ago to September, how his body has changed over a 3-month period. So you can see he has been working himself into better shape ahead of this Julius Long fight. And it was actually about a month ago when Browne posted he was 119 kilograms, and that's about 262 pounds, just a shade under. And you balance that against the fact that he was 264.5 pounds for the Dillian Whyte fight back in March. And he may have actually dropped some more weight since August, so he could be coming in a bit less than that. But I would hazard a guess it's not going to be dramatically less in a month. I'd say potentially, because he's been trimming up, toning up, we can maybe expect to weight 255 to 258. That's probably in the ballpark for this Julius Long fight. But the real benefit for him will come from being fitter and potentially a bit sharper as a result of the training. But at 39, we have to be realistic. We can't expect miracles, and neither should he. But he could well look decent against a journeyman in Long. But he's not going to be morphing into something that he's never been. But if there's a bit more quickness with the hands and the feet, hopefully some head movement and some general defense this time other than blocking punches with his face, then that will be an encouraging sign. As part of his preparations, he's been sparring some talent in Australia, and this guy on the right of the screen is a guy called Michael Seco. He's an amateur boxer as well as a kickboxer, and the little information that I could find on him says that he's well over 300 pounds. He's about 320 pounds, which is about 145 kilograms, so he's a big boy. Interestingly though, I couldn't find his height listed anywhere, but he must be about 6'7" or so. He's a couple of inches taller than Lucas Browne by the look of it, who is 6'5". And the guy on the left, as far as I could ascertain from some of the postings, because the name wasn't completely spelt out, is a guy called Danny Rio. He's had, according to BoxRec, about a handful of pro fights. But in terms of what Browne has been saying heading into this fight, here's a clip that he did post recently to his social media.
Getting ready for my fight, September 28th, up in the Gold Coast, the Convention Centre against Julius Long. Now, Julius Long is the tallest boxer in the world, 7'2", black American guy fighting out of New Zealand, so it should be a very exciting fight no matter what. It's me coming back off a loss, so new trainer, new style, Big Daddy point 2.0, all that sort of stuff. So I'm very excited to get back in there and smash people. I've got a little bit more of the hunger and everything else back. I'm trimming down, I'm looking better, feeling better, so I cannot wait to put on a big show for everyone. It's going to be a great night of fights. There's also the 8-man, little man competition, all that sort of stuff, so yeah, stay tuned, it's going to be a great night.
In terms of what's on the line here for Lucas Browne, it's a lot. If Lucas Browne can look good, there's certainly some fights out there for him and other contenders, fringe contenders that he could face. He's spoken about wanting to get back to the UK, but I think if the money's good, he's potentially going to travel. You know, he's already travelled to Eastern Europe before, and I think we could see him travelling again if he gets the right offer. I mean, there could be some Australian domestic fights for him as well. I guess it depends what he looks like against Julius Long. But in terms of what he's been saying, he's been angling for a fight with Dave Allen in particular. That name's come out of his mouth a number of times in recent months. He's mentioned Marius Wok before and also Arnold Jeritjai. There would also be others of that sort of similar ilk, the guys that are top 30 to top 50, that he could potentially target should he get through this Julius Long fight without much issue. But it must be said, if he comes in there, bearing in mind he's 39, he's coming off a brutal knockout, he's coming off a knee injury, he had surgery for that just a couple of months ago back in July. If he struggles in the Long fight, he'll need to reassess his options. But Browne himself, and this is like a lot of boxers, he still rates himself. He sees himself as a legitimate contender, a legitimate threat, even at 39, even after the injury, even after the knockout. And he says he expects himself to perform better after training better and addressing the knee injury through surgery. If he doesn't meet that expectation that he set for himself, though, I guess the question is he prepared to be a journeyman? And that may, to some degree, depend on how financially secure he is. Everyone's got to make a living after all. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Lucas Browne tracks in this comeback fight, to see what he really has left in the tank. And if he does end up looking pretty decent, he knocks Long out, he doesn't, labour to a win. If he can get a good performance and look halfway decent, it's going to open some doors for some fights that I talked about before. And there may be the prospect of a Joseph Parker fight down the line as well. Parker has talked about having another fight this year, so it probably wouldn't be this one. Potentially early in 2019, if both are tracking well and things work out, because remember, there was a contract on the table for Joseph Parker to fight Lucas Browne. This was the end of last year, and he was the backup opponent for Joseph Parker. So a Lucas Browne fight and Joseph Parker fight can't be ruled out of hand entirely. It's probably not the fight that some fans want to see Joseph Parker in. But Joseph Parker's got to build himself back up. Lucas Browne has still got some name recognition, some value in the division. He's obviously been a WBA belt holder before. Obviously, there's quite a few belts floating around. But Lucas Browne has only had the one loss, and it was quite a spectacular loss. But he's not a complete joke either. And there is a trans-Tasman rivalry in New Zealand, Australia. It would probably actually, in this part of the world, Southern Hemisphere, Oceania region, probably actually do okay. It would have to be supported by a decent undercard though, because I think a lot of people would think actually Joseph Parker is going to come in there and take Lucas Browne out. But, we have to see how he's going to look at this event on the Gold Coast this weekend in Australia. If he looks trash, well, he's going to have to reassess and actually think about his options, because if he decides actually he just has to keep fighting for financial reasons, he's got to accept becoming a journeyman or a gatekeeper of some sort. A lot of people already think that Lucas Browne has devolved to that stage at this point in his career. But if he can look good against Julius Long, potentially get another fight in this year, maybe it won't be one of the names he's already targeting. Maybe he needs another sort of warm-up fight or tune-up fight before a semi-big fight. But if he can build some buzz, get a couple of knockouts and look good, then people will start to talk about Lucas Browne again. Perhaps not in the way that they saw him before the Dillian Whyte fight. He was, generally regarded as a bit of a threat in the division, heavy hands, and he hasn't lost that power. But, at 39, we've got to be realistic about what he can still do in the division. But, we'll have to see where this goes. What do you make of it all? Do you expect Julius Long to give Lucas Browne any trouble, or is Browne going to go in there and do the business? Remembering that back in 2015, he took 9 rounds to get Long out of there. Drop a comment, loud and often, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.